Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. My guest today runs one of the biggest and most well-known children theater groups in Paris, France. She's the founder and the artistic director. We chat about creativity in theater, how her team supports her, and her dreams for the future. Please welcome to the show, Erin Colston. Hey guys, thanks so much for listening. If you want more bonus material and to support the show, head on over to patreon.com/La Vie Creative. And also don't forget to check out Amazon, where you can pick up my new book, Paris, A Life Less Ordinary. In the book, I talk about my creative adventures in Paris, from starting my business to being homeless, hello, starving artist, to how I met all these wonderful creative people. Don't forget to check it out on Amazon. And also thank you so much once more for listening and for your support. Enjoy the show. All right. So welcome to the show, Erin. We just had a fabulous photo shoot where I found out you're a model, also in a past life, but I'm learning so much about you. But today we're focusing on your amazing children's theater group, musical theater group today. So welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
And I know that you trained in musical theater in New York City before moving to Paris, which was about 10 years ago now, right? You've been here for 10 years doing this.
Well, I moved to Paris actually about 12 years ago. I've been doing my theater program for about 10 years. We had our 10-year anniversary in April of this year, so in the middle of lockdown.
Congratulations. You had a little Zoom party, I hope.
Well, yeah, we did a little bit of, an Instagram post, and we're doing sort of a year worth of celebrations because April was the anniversary of the first ever like little mini camp that I did. And our first year of classes was September 2010. So this year we're going to celebrating a whole year of 10-year anniversary. And we're stretching it into the spring because we are hoping to have a live gala to celebrate. But obviously we have to wait until we can go back to these sort of live events. So we're just stretching out our 10-year anniversary and celebrating it for a whole year.
I love that. I'm doing the same thing with my wedding. I'm just like, it keeps going until it actually happens. But talk about a little bit, like, what inspired this idea to bring musical children's theater to Paris? Like, how did that happen?
Well, there's a little bit of a backstory. At 18, I moved to New York to be an actress. That is all I ever wanted to do. I grew up very creative. I was always singing and dancing and acting and writing and painting and drawing. And I don't know, creativity has just always been a part of who I am. And particularly all my teachers loved my writing. I was often a teacher's pet, which I loved, but some classmates didn't. But I loved to write, and they would ask for like a 2-page paper, and I would give them, 20. But all I ever wanted to do was act and perform. That was just always my dream. And every time that I would have a teacher be like, "Oh, you could do this, you could be an astronaut, you could do that." I'm like, but if I'm an actress, I could pretend to be those things. So for me, and that was just sort of like an all-encompassing, like if you're an actress, you can kind of do it all. So I moved to New York. That was my dream. I knew that Broadway, musical theater, singing, dancing, that was my wheelhouse, more than film and TV. So I moved to New York. I went to AMDA, American Musical and Dramatic Academy, which at the time was just a 2-year conservatory. Now they have a full 4-year program, but they didn't when I was there. But the point was, to get in and have this sort of intensive experience and get out as young as possible to start working, which I did. And worked in New York some, but the life of a struggling actress, there's some work and a lot of struggle and a lot of other jobs to pay the bills. And one of my side jobs that I did was actually, I met a woman who was an agent. So I sat down to meet with her sort of on that capacity. And as we're talking, she was saying, well, I also do this Saturday theater program. Would you like to come and, be a teacher for this theater program I do on Saturdays? And so I was a teaching artist, and it was mostly volunteer. We didn't get paid a lot, but I loved doing it. I really loved being part of that. And I've always loved kids. I've always worked with kids and babysat, and my whole family is teachers. So I worked with her for a little while, but it was hard work, not a lot of pay, and difficult working circumstances sometimes. It was
Yeah, yeah.
stressful. And so I ended up leaving that, but always had this in my mind of like, I really loved doing that. And someday I want to do that my way. But it was it was always a thing that I thought, oh, like later, like when I retire, or it was like a someday thing. And actually, I lived in Harlem for quite a bit of my New York time, and when I started taking some classes at City College and met the head of the theater department there, I found out they had all these beautiful buildings that sat empty so much of the time. They just didn't use them because the theater program, I don't know, just didn't have enough going on, that I just thought,
Oh,
wow, there's all
wow.
these great spaces. And I had even been in talks with them to maybe start an after school program using their facilities. We were sort of talking about it. And then, I kind of I had a very difficult year, and I decided to come to Paris on what I was calling my Eat, Pray, Love year, because
I
that
love
was my
that.
favorite book. I was obsessed with it. I still love this book. I love Elizabeth Gilbert. I'm a big fan. Um, and yeah, I decided I had visited Paris once for 5 days, and I just had fallen in love. Like when I landed, I remember landing here, and I'd been in London and then came to Paris, and I just remember feeling this feeling of like, wow, what is it here? Like there's just, for me, there was like an energy and a calling, and I just walked around. I remember for those full 5 days just mesmerized by everything, and really feeling like I just wanted to stay, like something
Mhm.
was calling me to Paris. And of course I was here with a bunch of girlfriends, and it was very like, we need to go here and go there and do this and do that and see all the things. And I just wanted to like sit in a cafe and watch the people and do all the things, but like I
Yeah.
wanted more time. So I had gone back to New York, and for 2 years, still living my actress life, and was started talking about doing a after school program. But my heart kept going, oh, I want to go back to Paris. But, I had all these reasons I couldn't. I had an apartment and a dog and job and bills and all these
Yeah,
things. And
we always have reasons.
then I kind of had a really awful year, 2007 to 2008, when a lot of those excuses were sort of just taken away.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Paris and figure out what's next. And I don't know, I feel like the universe was just guiding me, and I didn't know it at the time, because I was convinced that I was going back to New York. Like,
Yeah.
Paris was just a year. And I told all my friends, like, no, I'm just going for a year. I'm coming back. And they're like, no, 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 we don't believe you. You're going to stay. And I was like, no, no, no. It's a year. I like put everything in storage. I was, planning to come back. And then the first year here, I'm a member of the American Cathedral, and that's my church. And I remember showing up, new person, didn't know anybody. And at the welcome desk, they were like, oh, you like kids, so why don't you be a Sunday school teacher? And hey, you do theater. We need a director for our Christmas pageant. And
Wow, that worked out really well.
I was like, well, I can do that, because I had taught theater for kids and I had done this program in New York. So I was like, yeah, sure, I can direct a Christmas pageant. And as we're doing it, the parents are all like, oh my gosh, you're so great with these kids. And, they've been doing, I think, the same pageant for like 20 years, and it had become kind of boring for the kids. I think it was, done in a way that was very like the kids just did a lot of standing around and waiting. And so I was trying to make it like more fun and interesting for them. And the parents were like, this is great. You're so good at this. My child loves theater, but there's nothing for them in English. And the first year that they said this to me, I was like, huh, that's too bad. And it just like went right over my head because I wasn't planning to stay. So I was like, huh, someone should do that.
I love that we don't realize these opportunities when they
No.
present themselves.
So, I'd go through my year, and by about May, I was really starting to feel like, a year isn't enough. Okay, I really miss my family, but I really want to stay longer. So I started making plans to come back after the summer and have a second year. And I directed the Christmas pageant again and got similar comments from the parents like, you're so good at this, gosh, there's nothing like, no theater for my kids and they love doing this. And I went, okay, universe, I hear you.
Finally.
So that's when I was like, all right, I'm just going to try this. Let's see. And working as an au pair and doing like side jobs teaching English and just lots of different things, dog walking and whatever I could to kind of make ends meet so that I could be here. And I was like, I'm going to try a camp. We have so many school vacations here. So during an April break, I, made a little flyer, rented a room at the American church, and held a little week-long camp and had 9 kids. I'd say like 5 of them were kids I knew from church from the Christmas pageant. And it went really well. The kids had fun. So I ran some camp sessions in the summer. And again, my students sort of came from like kids who'd done the first camp and liked it and told their friends. And, I put out some flyers and got a small response. And I said, okay, this is going pretty well. I think I'm going to keep going with this. And that September, I was like, let's try a class. I ended up doing 2 classes, just 2 age groups. So one for the 3 to 6 and one for the 6 to 10. I had 25 kids that first semester. And then it just grew and grew and grew. And every year we had more classes and more kids. And I brought in more teachers and more staff. And now we have like 200 kids that we see every week, plus
Wow.
another, you know, couple hundred that come through our camps because we have some kids who just come and do camps with us. We have people who travel to Paris in the summer, and every summer when they come to Paris, they send their kids to our summer camps.
That's crazy. I mean, it's so funny how it's like this accidental creative, situation and you found your little spot without realizing that you needed to be there. I mean, there was a market for this too. I mean, look how far you've come. It's really great.
Well, I think part of it was as I started doing this too and building it, I realized every job, everything I had ever done in my life was basically leading me to this point. And I went, okay, universe, this is where you were guiding me. I just didn't see it because I had worked in retail. At 18, when I was, working at the mall in Houston, I was the youngest manager, ever at this little mall shop. Because technically I was promoted 2 weeks before I was 18 and legally not even supposed to be the manager yet. Um, and so I'd worked in like, various sort of retail shops and sales and marketing was always something I was good at. In New York, I was doing the same thing, working sales at Danskin and an assistant manager. And I ended up doing the marketing for our store. And they had no, like, at that time, Danskin didn't have a bunch of shops. They didn't really have a marketing plan for the stores. They had their thing for their online sales and their magazine sales that they did, their orders. But I kind of started creating like, what can we do to bring more business in? And they ended up using those ideas to like build a marketing plan, to build the marketing plan for the whole company as they started rolling out more shops. So, the marketing came into play, the sales, all my crafting. My mother is so crafty, and we were always painting and gluing and, making things. So it's like, as I started doing this and building this company, I was like, every skill, all that sales experience and the marketing and, the craft stuff, like everything I've ever done, the writing, because I write scripts for the shows, It's like everything I had ever done, I need every single one of those like skills, talents, ability, creativity to do this. So I was like, okay, this is what I meant to be doing. I just didn't know it.
Yeah, I mean, how lucky you are to discover it because so many of us go through our whole lives not finding that thing and you found it and you found it in Paris. And what's your favorite thing about teaching creativity to kids? Like, what do you love about that?
Well, one of the main reasons that I love what I do is I have seen how important it has been for me in my life to have creativity, but also to have a voice, to know how to use it, to have the confidence to use it, and to feel brave enough to put myself out into the world in these creative ways. And I think that that is such an important gift that I can give and share with children. The motto of our company is don't just sit there when you can shine. And everything about our company is about stars and shining. And I think that that is something that even if these kids aren't going to go on and do theater, even if that's just something that they do for fun and it's not, their dream in life, it is a skill. Like I'm helping create children who grow up into young adults that are confident, that have a voice, that think outside the box and are willing to create and are willing to explore and are willing to sort of play with emotion. We do various things in the camps. We have the kids sometimes help us create the storyline and help create the sets and costumes. And I just sort of feel like I'm gifting them with this ability to feel confident in themselves and in their creativity and in the gifts that they can offer. And that's going to make them better adults and it's going to make the world better. Like, this is my way of changing the world.
Yeah, and I think that kids need that more than ever right now with social media and all the craziness in the world. Like kids, like the teen suicide rates are through the roof. Like it's so important that we start this foundation now for their confidence and having an outlet. I mean, it's a great way to play, like play in the shadows.
Yeah. Well, and I found that especially during the lockdown, it did seem to make a big difference. I could see, you know, how hard it was for a lot of the students. And, even in the second lockdown, as well as the first, some of them just struggled to go online and do the Zoom classes and things. Was just some kids don't thrive with that, which we
Yeah.
understand. But some of the kids, you could tell it was their lifeline. Like they never
Yeah.
wanted to leave the class. They just wanted to stay on. And, my advanced group, which we call our all stars, they're my kids who've been in the program a long time, and it's sort of our top group. We had just a game night every Saturday this past lockdown because the kids were so desperate for that interaction. And we'd finish, the time of when we were supposed to be done with our game night, and they'd always want to stay on. And they would beg me, like, please, can we stay? And I was like,
Oh.
guys, I love you, but I want to go eat dinner.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, they're having such a great time. And it's so nice to have that outlet. And like you said, the pandemic's been hard on everybody. And I'm sure that goes for children as well. So yay, Zoom. We're all living on Zoom now.
Yeah.
And what have been some of the best resources for your company?
For me, the best resources are my people. I have been really, really lucky to find the right people along the way. And maybe I shouldn't say luck. I mean, some of it is luck because you never know who you're going to meet. But I also, from early on, as this started growing, I knew very quickly, like, okay, this is getting bigger than I can do by myself. I'm going to need some good help. And so I started looking for that and looking for people who could jump in and be a part of this and who had a similar mentality to me about how we wanted to grow it and what we wanted to offer and how we wanted to do things for the kids. And I always like, for interviews for working people who work with me, we don't sit down and have like a formal business interview. I always meet people for coffee because what I'm really looking at is like, what is their energy, what are their skills, what creative ideas do they have that they might bring to the table. And so finding various people along the way who've joined, some for just a year or two and some who've stayed much longer, My team is really what has made this incredible program because, early on, I met Rian O'Sullivan, who I talk about and praise, and I want to make sure to mention and praise her as much as I can, because she came in with, a different set of skills and experience and a lot of similarities, but her strength and creativity and ideas have really brought a lot to the program. She's been with me like 8 years now, I think. And then she's part of my directing team. And I also have Christine Markland, who joined us, left, had a baby, came back. She's about to leave again, come back.
Yeah, babies.
Um, oh yeah, well, we have two, and we have my two directors actually. they're both leaving on maternity leave, but we're happy for them.
Oh,
Um, but they'll be back. But that it's finding these people who can come with different set of experience and training. They've all gone to different schools, different even acting backgrounds and acting experience, and styles of theater training. And so that brought a lot to the teaching and the kids, but also their own unique creative ways and ideas of how we can always, run this better has made everything better. I mean, we sit down and approach any problem creatively. So when the first lockdown hit, we had a day or two of being like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And then we
yeah.
just kept talking back and forth. We had some like group chats and sort of said, okay, how can we do this? And we each came with these ideas and were able to put it together and, keep our company going, keep paying our staff, even though nobody is really contracted. Everyone is an hourly employee or a sort of independent contractor.
Hmm.
But we were able to, keep paying staff through this time when a lot of people were getting laid off, and we were able to keep offering new things. Even we offered different kinds of workshops and new things to the kids that we'd never done because, basically all my team brought their creative ideas. I'm the type of boss or leader who I like to be like, okay, what's your idea? Tell me what you want to do and let's try it. And if it works, then
Yeah.
we'll do it more. And that's really, that energy has made things better. And having incredible team, that's the best resource. And
Hmm.
people that you can talk with and work through things with and bounce ideas off of, and a healthy way of doing that is really, I think, important for creative endeavors that want to grow.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to have, like you said, someone to bounce ideas off of, someone to give you like a little boost when you're feeling down, because it's a lot of work. You're giving your heart and soul to this company and these kids, and I, especially when you're running a creative business, it's even more. So, and what's some of the obstacles you faced in starting the theater company in Paris?
Well, it's interesting. I think I come with this very sort of American, we can do anything, pull ourselves up by our bootstrap, yes, we can sort of mentality. That's just, that's always been me. I saw something I wanted to do and I went for it, even when I was like a baby. My mom will tell stories. So that sort of, I came with this. And when I first had this idea and was like trying to get it off the ground, I would meet so many French people who were like, oh, wow, that seems so difficult. Like, so many people told me, oh, I've always had this dream that I would do this or start this or try this entrepreneurial endeavor or try this creative thing. But they were always so afraid to because, oh, it's so hard here in France and the administration and the paperwork. And there were so many people who were letting all these reasons like stop them and feeling, like they couldn't try something. But no, you need to get a good job that's safe and that you can have forever and you don't have to worry. There was like this fear, and a lot of people thought I was crazy for trying what I was trying. And it was hard, I have to say, like figuring out all the paperwork and administration and rules here and things that keep changing. And especially as we grow, has definitely been difficult. But I have always just kind of approached it with all right, let's just keep trying until we figure it out and let's make mistakes and fall and get back up. And there's been quite a few times where we really thought, first when it was just me, where I thought, okay, this isn't going to work. I can't, financially make it work, you know, feeling like a failure, but I just always sort of hung on long enough and kept going long enough that I could pull back up out of it. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
But I would
Yeah.
say all the paperwork and the French administrative side of things is it's not easy. And finances, keeping it, being able
Yeah.
to
You,
keep your creativity and do all the things you want to do and afford it in an expensive city like Paris.
yeah. You have to be patient with the paperwork and yeah,
Yeah.
keep the income coming.
Yes.
And what advice would you give to others searching for their creative talents?
I really just say go for it. I am such anybody who ever talks to me and says, "Oh, I've always wanted to do this thing," when they hear what I did, I'm like, "Do it." I think you have to try. And because you never know what's going to happen. I mean,
Mm.
I don't think, I know a lot of people don't want to try something because they're so afraid to take that leap and leave something that's safe or secure or financial stability. Um, and I would say, you have to do a certain element of balancing. And, part of why I could start my business was because I was also working side jobs as an au pair. I had a place to live. I had, a little bit of income. So I was able to support myself and start this dream. So I don't necessarily believe in like jumping off the cliff without making sure there's water.
Yeah.
but but I think you have to try and start something small. This is how we've done it. Anything I've done, I've been like, let's try this small thing. And if that
Mhm.
small thing works, we'll go a little bigger next time. And if that works,
Yeah.
we'll go a little bigger and we'll go a little bigger. And that's how we've built this is just being willing to start and try. And some things we've tried and they haven't worked, but it's we go,
Yeah.
okay, that wasn't successful, or our students weren't interested in that, or the parents weren't interested in that. So we'll scrap that. Let's try this other thing.
Yeah.
But you got to be willing to just try.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. It's like taking that first step. We're always coming up with excuses. And like you said, you just take that first step. And what are you most excited about for your future projects? Is there anything you want to share with listeners that's coming up or new things you guys are trying?
Well, we have a current project. We are doing a fundraiser online. My advanced group, my advanced performance troupe, which we talked about, my All Stars, they had a Christmas show, which we were not able to do, obviously, live, but we did film it. And you can purchase tickets and live stream that. There's a link through our website to do that. So you could support ACT by watching their live streamed version of A Christmas Carol. It is a
Oh,
modern reinterpretation of the story that I wrote and created. And the lead is a female in her 40s who is revisiting her youth and her childhood and, her past and trying to improve herself. So it's a gender flipped modern version set in present day. And they go back to the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s. So there's really fun music from all these time periods that I brought into the show. And my students did a really great job. We filmed it in about 12 hours total of filming time.
wow.
Um, just, live outside, sometimes masked, um, only unmasked if we were, spaced out enough and it was safe to do. But yeah, we worked really hard to put that together. So that's something you can do immediately. What I'm really excited for, though, is getting back to real live theater and in-person performances. The same group, my All Stars, are going to be doing Seussical in April, and we are just hoping, hoping, hoping we're going to be able to be back on stage for that because that's what we do best. It's what I
Oh,
love, and so I would say, tune in, come see some of our shows, come support the amazing kids and my all stars. Part of the reason I call them that is some of them have been in the program with me since they were 3. They've done
oh,
this with me for 10 years, some of them, and they're
my
really
goodness.
good. They're
That's
so
so
great.
cool.
I want
Oh,
everyone to come and see how amazing they are. So
I do too. And where can people follow you online and learn more about the show and everything?
So we have a website, www.actparis.com. I was very happy to get that domain name.
Yeah, that's great.
And we are on Instagram, act.paris. And we have a Facebook page. I mean, if you just Google us, American Children's Theater, you will find us. We are all over. Um, and definitely always posting new things. Like, for example, during this lockdown, we did more camps. We've just done some holiday camps in person and online. We always have new things going. We've also started having some programming that is by adults for kids. So we had some online, like live interactive shows by some adult theater troupes during the lockdown that the kids could be a part of a show and watch a show on Zoom, but interactive in that the performers were asking for responses and ideas from the kids, and it was really great. And we're always sort of adding new things and growing the ways that we can be creative and offer new things. So if people follow us on Instagram and check in on our website, they will always see new exciting things we are offering in the theatrical world in Paris.
Very cool. I'm so excited to see what you come up with next. The shows are always changing, and I like how you revamped, the Christmas Carol. Very cool. So everybody, I hope you check out the show, support the kids, support Erin, and thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you. I enjoyed being here.
Thanks so much for tuning in to La Vie Creative. You can find more information on MissParisPhoto.com. And if you enjoyed this show, please feel free to share and spread the word for all my creative guests. We have the power to help them to keep doing what they love. See you next time.